Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys and girls are doing good. Today, we are ranking from worst to best all 9 What If episodes. And the standard disclaimer real quick, this is not the factual list, ladies and gentlemen. This is just my useless nerd opinion. If you agree or disagree, or if you want to go a step beyond, it'll be amazing. Let me know your list from worst to best down below. That'll be awesome. I've now seen every single episode at least a minimum 2 times. Some of them towards the end I've seen more than like 5 times. I'm not even joking. Overall, this was an amazing season. Hopefully they continue it, but yeah, something's got to come. Last place, and it is episode 7. This is the Thor episode. Now, real quick, this is actually the only episode that I did not review on the channel, purely because Star Wars Visions came out that day. That had my full attention, and I just legit like never got around to it, man. I had other commitments and yeah, just never got around to it. This is definitely, for me anyway, the worst episode. It's not bad by any stretch. If I had to grade this episode, I initially actually gave it 7. Watching it twice, it's probably like a 6. Which means it is a good episode, because dead average for me is a 5 out of 10. This is definitely a 6. I just think like, it just felt very kiddie. Now I know like Marvel is made for kids, that's totally fine. But this was like extremely light-hearted, so many jokes. It just didn't feel like a serious episode. And this just felt like, again, extremely light-hearted. The only thing that was amazing in this episode, genuinely, was seeing Thor versus Captain Marvel. That was awesome, man. I can't deny it. Just everything else, for me, was extremely just an average episode of a show. Very, again, lighthearted, very kiddie, too many jokes. I get it's Thor. We all know how Thor is in the MCU, but you could have made it just a little bit different, man. Just for me, I think it's the worst one, man. So, yeah, if you agree or disagree, let me know down below. But this, for me, definitely last. Next up is episode 1. This is the opening of the entire show, and it's pretty good, man. This is basically Peggy Carter if she becomes Captain America, or Captain Carter as she's called in the show. I said it in my initial review, and I stand by it now, seeing it twice. I still think it's a really good opening for this whole season of What If. Only letdown of this is it pretty much follows Captain America the First Avenger nearly to the dot. Obviously, there's like major twists and turns and different things happen, but overall, you've seen this, man. If you've seen the first movie, you know exactly how this is going to pan out. That's like my only negative, but I still think the episode is really, really solid. Watching back my initial review, I gave it an 8. It's probably more like a 7.5 watching it twice, but it definitely holds up on its own. As an opening of a show, yeah, man, it done it right. Next up is episode 3. This is basically like the serial killer episode. Basically, someone's going around killing the Avengers off, and you have no idea who it is. This episode, watching it twice, it still holds up, man. The mystery is really good. And also, there's actually a few clues as to who it is right at the start. If you're paying attention, well, you're not going to notice it first time, obviously, but watching it second time, keep your eyes open, man. You're going to see it. You appreciate it. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil who it is. Do not worry. But I really like this episode. You pretty much follow Nick Fury, Black Widow for the most bit as well. And it feels like a nice spy thriller episode in this crazy season of What If. I enjoyed the story. I really liked the twist. I did not think the villain was going to be this person, so it caught me off guard. I always appreciate that. The violence was pretty good as well. It's pretty violent, man. Overall, this episode pretty much has nearly everything. There are a few like Avengers who aren't in it, but I am legit nitpicky, man. Overall, again, this is an easy, solid 8 out of 10. This is a great episode. Next up is episode 2. When I did my initial review, I said there, man, this is the start of where the show is going to get awesome, man. We have T'Challa being Star-Lord in this episode. First of all, I said in that review as well, man, hearing Chadwick Boseman's voice, genuinely, I just felt something, man. I was getting a little bit teary-eyed. It was awesome to see him reprise his role after like the tragedy and stuff, and it's just awesome, man. This is also the episode where we start seeing some crazy alternate realities, man. When you see Thanos, he is too good at this episode, man. Genuinely really had me laughing. I also thought it was basically going to be like a copy and paste Star-Lord, but it's genuinely like, what if T'Challa became Star-Lord? All like the Wakandan stuff is happening back on Earth, so I really appreciated that. I'm so glad it's not just he's Star-Lord and there's Wakanda's gone. And voice acting for this episode was really, really solid, man. I absolutely loved the story. It caught me off guard really big time. I love the characters, man. Stand out again, of course, Thanos, of course, Star-Lord, aka T'Challa. Also, Yondu's in this episode. He is really, really funny as well, man. This episode, absolutely solid. If I'm being totally honest, for me, I gave it a 9 back then. It's still a 9 upon second viewing. Actually, I've seen it about 4 times now. Definitely holds up. Next up is episode 6. This is the Killmonger episode, and as you can tell, oh dear. Genuinely,
I look so dumb right now.
the helmet is literally right over there. If you actually watch this video for the first time, you're going to be like, what is going on, man? Normally, I have Killmonger, his helmet up here, man. One of my favourite MCU villains of all time. I've literally, for this recording, for Halloween, I've changed up like my background and backdrop and all that stuff. So, yeah, I ain't going crazy, man. But yeah, I love Killmonger. Again, one of my favourite villains in the MCU. Easily in the top 3. Still for me, number 2, man. Best MCU villain. He is amazing in this, and I thought they were giving him hero treatment. Nah, definitely a villain still, and I love that. Basically, he becomes like the Tony Stark of like the show, pretty much. I mean, obviously, Tony is still there in the episode, but he very much takes over, kind of like a villainy Iron Man. It's really hard to explain unless you see this episode. I appreciated it so much. The storytelling, just for this, was 10 out of 10. And hearing Michael B. Jordan, absolutely loving it, man. They smashed it. The story was fantastic. The action was really good. And there's a lot of suspense. By the ending, you're going to be like, no, man, please give us more. Next up is episode 9. This is the finale episode. We know Ultron is so OP right now. The Watcher basically gets the Avengers throughout the whole season. Nah, sorry. Not the Avengers, the Guardians of the Multiverse. He basically gets Doctor Strange and a bunch of other people, and they go against Ultron. This episode, fantastic, really, really good way to end a show. I actually think Ultron is one of the most underrated villains across all the MCU. And he, again, is so OP in here, man. And seeing him fight the Guardians of the Multiverse, whatever, awesome. Action off the chains, story really, really sick. The Watcher, easily his best episode. I gave it a 9.5 in my review. I'm 100% sticking by it. This is nearly a perfect episode, nearly a 10 out of 10 God tier. There's only one thing that I dislike a little bit. I can't really say what it is. It is spoiler. If someone wants to know, I don't know, DM me on Instagram or something, man. And I would say, I ain't going to say here, but this episode is nearly God tier. It's epic. Next up is episode 5. This, for me, is a 10 out of 10 God tier episode. I love horror. I love zombies. I love the MCU. This is what I love. This episode has everything, man. It has twists and turns. It has casualties. It has war, suspense, horror. Just an absolute banger. I love that it starts at a place that we know. At the start of Infinity War, Heimdall sends back Hulk to Earth, and that's how it starts. Is at this time, everyone's a zombie. And like they said in the show, what could be worse than zombies? The Avengers are zombies. And you really do feel it, man. When you have an Avenger as a zombie, they are hella strong. The ending of this, extremely mind-blowing. I did not think they would go this crazy. Ant-Man, I ain't spoiled it. It's just insane, mate. Also, this is pretty much the only episode with Spider-Man in. I don't know if it's because of the whole, like, Sony thing or anything, but again, we didn't get much Spider-Man, but he shined in this episode so sick. Bunch of characters in here. The ending, Scarlet Witch, Hulk, Wasp. There's just too much in this episode to dissect. I probably should have done a spoiler review when it came out ages ago, but this, again, I'm sticking by it. 10 out of 10, God tier. Epic, man. Next up is episode 8. This, for me, again, is another 10 out of 10 God tier, man. Again, I said literally minutes ago, Ultron, extremely underrated, which is really annoying because in the comics, he is one of the biggest villains in Marvel. He's so OP. And he's even more crazy strong in this episode. I'm not going to spoil anything, but they done him justice in here. He's dangerous, mate. Properly dangerous. This kind of felt like an Infinity War episode. Like, it's hard to explain unless you see it. He is murking people, mate. Left, right and centre. Slapping people. Slapping worlds, man. He is so strong. Again, it's a God tier episode. There's nothing I dislike, man. I've seen it now more than 5 times. This episode is extremely amazing. I love the story. I love Ultron. I love the amount of characters. I love that the Watcher finally gets, like, a real big purpose in the episode. And the way it ends to just set up the finale. Perfect. And the best episode is episode 4. I said in my review, ladies and gentlemen, this is beyond God tier. I've seen this episode now 7 times, bro. I ain't even joking. Doctor Strange, one of my favourite Marvel characters of all time. Not just like an MCU character. I'm talking, man, my childhood growing up. I love Doctor Strange. I love mystic villains, and to see what they done with him in this episode and the like alternate version of Doctor Strange, This is like perfect for me, man. And I'm so glad Benedict Cumberbatch done the voice acting, man, because I don't think it would have worked without him. The story for this is the most emotional story, easily by far, across all of What If. You can't tell me otherwise. Extremely emotional. You don't know which direction it's going to go. You don't know if it's going to be a happy ending, because up to this point, the other 3 episodes, they've all had, like, happy endings. Extremely sad ending. I'm not going to spoil it, but this episode had me, like, sweating, mate. Just straight up. I did not know what way they're going to go. This could have easily flopped so hard and it would have been last place for me, man. I'm not even joking. That's how much I love Doctor Strange. But legit, they absolutely nailed it from start to finish. I was extremely entertained, and yeah, it's beyond God tier. It cannot be touched. Easily, for me, again, it's my opinion, yo, easily by far the best episode of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my ranking list of all 9 episodes. Do you agree? Do you disagree? To be honest, again, if you want to be extra awesome, bro, let me know your list down below. That'd be sick. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you spending your time here with your boy, and I'll see you in a bit.